My girlfriend forbade me from attending my own sister's wedding, but when I went anyway, I discovered the dark secret she was desperate to hide. My name's James, I'm 34, and never in my life did I imagine I'd be standing at my kitchen table, torn between the woman I loved and the family who had always been my anchor. Rachel and I had been together for 3 years, building a comfortable life in Seattle. Our days were predictable: shared mornings over coffee, evenings watching movies, and conversations that floated between dreams and bills. Rachel was brilliant, driven, and sharp-minded. She knew how to push me, how to motivate me, and I admired that. But sometimes her push felt more like pressure. She'd cross into places I considered private, question my choices, my friends, even my family. Still, I told myself that's what love was. Two people caring so much that they sometimes collided. My younger sister, Chloe, was the opposite of Rachel in every way: gentle, honest, and grounded. After our father passed away 2 years ago, Chloe became the brightest constant in my life. When she asked me to walk her down the aisle this summer in Denver, it felt like more than a favor. It felt like a promise to our dad, a way to honor his memory. For months, we planned together over calls and texts, sending photos, joking about flower choices, and laughing over the small details that made everything feel real. Rachel had met Chloe a few times before. They were polite to each other, nothing more. I never suspected any deep dislike between them. So, when I mentioned the wedding date and quietly booked my flight months in advance, I didn't think twice. The night everything changed was strangely ordinary. We were having dinner, chatting about grocery lists and weekend plans, when Rachel suddenly set her fork down and said, "You booked it already?" I looked up, confused. "Yeah, for June." Her eyes narrowed. "You didn't ask me." I tried to laugh it off, thinking she was teasing, but her expression didn't change. "It's my sister's wedding," I said lightly. "You know how I feel about her," she replied flatly. Those words landed like a weight. I remember Chloe once mentioned, half-jokingly, that Rachel could be controlling. Back then, I brushed it off. But that night, the truth began to crack through the surface. "Rachel, this isn't about sides. It's my family," I said softly, trying to keep my voice steady. She stared at me for a long moment, her expression hardening into something I didn't recognize. There was no shouting, no outburst, just a cold finality. "If you go, don't expect things to be the same." I thought of my dad then, his proud smile, his voice saying, "Take care of your sister." I thought of Chloe's face when she asked me to walk her down the aisle. How could I say no? I tried to explain that it was just one weekend. I'd fly in, attend the wedding, and be back before she knew it. Rachel didn't budge. The air between us thickened until even breathing felt like a task. That night, I lay awake listening to her breathing beside me, wondering when our relationship had turned from partnership to control. The next morning, I tried again, my voice gentle, my intentions clear. "Rachel, please, this is important. You don't even have to come." But she just said calmly, "If you go, we're done." The quietness of her words made them heavier than any shout could have been. I wanted to believe she didn't mean it, that it was just anger talking. But when I looked at her eyes, I saw finality there. Days passed with a silence that felt like punishment. I'd sit on the couch, lost in thought, while she moved around the apartment like a ghost. Chloe's calls became my only source of warmth. She'd talk about her dress, the guest list, the music, completely unaware that each conversation tied me in knots between love and loyalty. I told myself maybe Rachel was hurt, maybe she felt left out, but deep down, I knew this was about control. Love shouldn't come with conditions. A week before the wedding, I stood by the window, watching the rain slide down the glass, realizing there was no easy way out. Either I'd lose the woman I loved or the part of myself that believed in family. Between the two, only one felt like a choice I could live with. 3 days before the wedding, I packed my suitcase. The apartment was silent except for the low hum of the refrigerator. When Rachel walked in and saw the bag, she didn't say a word at first. Then, quietly, "You're really doing this?" "Yeah," I said, my voice firm but calm. I have to. She nodded once, slowly, her eyes cold. Then we're done. She grabbed her coat and left. The door didn't slam, but the sound of it closing echoed like the end of a chapter. I sat there, staring at the empty space she'd left behind. No tears, no yelling, just stillness. My phone buzzed. It was Chloe. Can't wait to see you, big brother. I typed back. I wouldn't miss it for the world. And for the first time in weeks, I felt something close to peace. The flight to Denver was short, but my thoughts made it feel endless. When the plane landed, the weight I'd been carrying for weeks began to lift. Chloe met me at the airport, tears shining in her eyes as she hugged me tight. You actually came, she whispered, laughing through the emotion. Of course I did, I said. You really thought I'd miss this? She smiled, that same warm smile Dad used to have. She didn't ask about Rachel. She didn't need to. The wedding weekend was a blur of laughter, family, and love. Seeing Chloe in her dress, radiant and joyful, made every hard moment worth it. When I walked her down the aisle, I felt my father's presence beside us. During my speech, I said, family isn't about who's easy to love. It's about who shows up when it counts. I noticed a few guests glance my way, maybe sensing there was more behind my words. That night, sitting beneath the string lights of the reception garden, Chloe rested her head on my shoulder and whispered, "Thank you for coming. It means more than you know." "It means more than you know too," I replied softly. When I flew back to Seattle the next morning, I felt calm, until I opened the door to my apartment. The space was empty. Her photos were gone, her clothes removed, her scent faded. The coffee maker, even that was missing. On the counter, a single note sat folded neatly. You made your choice. Don't call me. No anger. No goodbye. Just finality. I stood there for a long time, listening to the hum of the fridge. I expected to feel heartbreak, but what I felt instead was relief. The silence didn't hurt. It healed. A few days later, my friend Caleb texted me a screenshot. Rachel's Instagram story. She was smiling with another man at a bar, captioned, "Sometimes you don't realize what you deserve until you walk away." The post was dated the day after I left for Denver. I didn't feel rage, just clarity. She had already moved on. The ultimatum had been her way of justifying it. When I told Chloe later, she just sighed. "I always thought she hated not being in control," she said. "She didn't like that you had a life outside of her." She was right. Every disagreement, every argument we'd had, always led back to the same thing: control. Rachel didn't want a partner. She wanted a puppet. Over the following weeks, I moved into Caleb's spare room, slowly rebuilding my routine. For the first time in years, I could breathe without worrying about the next argument. The quiet felt like freedom. Then one night, weeks later, my phone buzzed. An unknown number. Rachel. Her message was long, filled with regret. "I shouldn't have made you choose. I didn't think you'd actually go. I just wanted to know you'd pick me. I miss you, James." I read it twice. Then I typed back slowly. I cared, but love isn't supposed to come with ultimatums. Then I blocked her number. No drama. No final words. Just peace. Months passed. I focused on my work, on myself, on family. Chloe called often, her laughter a constant reminder that I'd made the right choice. One evening, she said, "You look lighter these days, like you finally let go." And she was right. I stopped mistaking control for love. I stopped believing that compromise meant losing myself. Therapy helped. So did time. Last week, I framed a photo from Chloe's wedding, the one where I'm walking her down the aisle. Every time I look at it, I remember my speech that day. Real love doesn't cage you. It walks beside you. Took losing Rachel to truly understand that. And if I had to make the same choice again, I would still choose my sister. I would still choose family. I would still choose peace. Thank you for watching till the end. And remember, real love never asks you to choose between your heart and your family. Like and subscribe for more stories like this.